The story of Fernando Alonso. When Fernando Alonso made his debut as a Formula One driver, little did anyone know that he would go on to become one of the greatest drivers in the history of the sport. In his spectacular career in Formula One racing, Fernando Alonso has seen it all: glory and tragedy, fallouts and acrimony, and of course, title wins and heartbreaks. It all began in 2001 when Fernando Alonso started his career driving for Minardi. At that time, the team was a classic example of a backmarker and had almost no chance of ever scoring a point in a race. But hey, we wouldn't be doing justice to Fernando Alonso's story if we didn't talk about his journey to becoming an F1 driver. So let's take a ride back to 1981. Early years of Alonso. This is the year 1981 in Oviedo, a city in the Asturias region of northern Spain. It was the year when Fernando Alonso was born. Growing up, his father, Jose Luis, built a pedal cart that resembled a miniature Formula One car for Fernando and his sister. Although it was intended for his sister Lorena, 3-year-old Fernando couldn't resist hopping into the cockpit. From the moment he first pedaled around, it was obvious that Fernando was born to race. So at the tender age of 7, he entered his first kart race and came out on top. The trophies began piling up, and by the time he was 10, Fernando had already won several kart championships. But as he progressed, the cost of racing started to become a hurdle for his family's limited resources. However, his parents never wavered in their support. His father acted as his mechanic at races, and his mother ensured he excelled in school. Despite the financial challenges, Fernando's passion never dwindled. He continued to win races and collect trophies, always striving for more. In his mid-teens, Fernando had already won a world championship and was ready to take his career to the next level. He competed in a Spanish-based championship for single-seater racing cars in 1999, winning with ease. This resulted in an opportunity to try out in a Minardi Formula One car. It was a dream come true for Fernando, but it was only the beginning. He secured a drive with a Minardi-backed F3000 team in 2000 and a testing contract with Minardi's Formula One team. When he made his debut the following season, he left an indelible mark with his impressive performance. However, it was when he captured the attention of Flavio Briatore, an eccentric team principal, that his career really took off. Briatore recruited Alonso for a test drive with Renault in 2002 and then immediately advanced him to a racing seat in 2003. Alonso rose to fame by becoming the youngest driver ever to earn pole position in Malaysia and then rounded off the year by becoming the youngest ever Formula One race winner in Hungary. He demonstrated experience beyond his age, which was further showcased when he finished 4th in the championship the following year, driving the tough-to-handle Renault R24. Championship battles. Alonso focused on honing his driving skills and racecraft, and this paid off when he was given the opportunity to drive Renault's excellent R25 car in 2005. That year, the Spaniard was the driver everyone needed to beat. Michael Schumacher's Ferrari fell off the pace for the first time in 6 years, and Kimi Räikkönen's McLaren-Mercedes proved to be quick but unreliable. Meanwhile, Alonso cruised through the season, finishing in the top 3 14 times, claiming victories 7 times, and gaining points in all but 2 of the 19 races. Alonso's practically perfect season was highlighted by a symbolic victory over Schumacher at Imola, where he skillfully fended off the best attempts of the 7-time world champion. He won the title in a car that was typically slower than Räikkönen's McLaren by knowing when and how to attack, defend, and take control of a race. Alonso's ability to adapt quickly to changing circumstances and properly handle his racecraft contributed to his success. Alonso started 2006 with a number of victories and podium finishes, which gave him a significant early lead over Schumacher. But by the middle of the season, Schumacher's Ferrari, which had been struggling, improved to overcome Renault's initial performance advantage. As a result, the German was able to produce a magnificent comeback, making the eventual victory of the Spaniard for the title all the more unforgettable. Both drivers finished the season with 7 wins each, substantiating Alonso's status as a worthy successor to the retiring Schumacher. But then he made a move that totally changed the course of his career. Turbulent time with McLaren. The anticipation was high when Fernando Alonso joined McLaren, one of the most successful teams in Formula One history. The Spaniard had 2 world championships under his belt, and everyone expected great things from him in his new team. But things didn't go according to plan. His teammate, the young and talented Lewis Hamilton, proved to be a fierce competitor, and the two of them went head-to-head throughout the season. Hamilton's debut season was nothing short of sensational. He was leading the championship midway through the season, and Alonso was struggling to keep up. But that wasn't the worst of it. The team's decision not to favor one driver over the other led to an intense battle between the two, and it all came to a head at the Hungarian Grand Prix. During qualifying, Alonso impeded Hamilton, and he was subsequently disqualified from the session. The incident caused a massive uproar. The two McLaren drivers continued to fight tooth and nail on the track, but their rivalry only benefited one man, Kimi Räikkönen. The Finn drove his Ferrari to victory in the last round of the championship, snatching the title away from Hamilton and Alonso. Return to Renault. After a disappointing stint at McLaren, Fernando Alonso found himself back at Renault, where he had previously won his only 2 world championships. The 2-year deal with McLaren had turned into a 1-year nightmare, and Alonso was glad to be back with a team that he knew well. However, the Renault car was not up to par with the likes of Ferrari and McLaren, and Alonso was left struggling to make any significant impact on the grid. Despite this, he managed to achieve some success in the 2008 season, winning the inaugural Singapore Grand Prix and the Japanese Grand Prix in Fuji. Unfortunately, 2009 proved to be a year filled with controversy for Alonso and Renault. It all started when Nelson Piquet Jr. revealed that the team had ordered him to deliberately crash during the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix to give Alonso an advantage. The incident, which was later dubbed Crashgate, rocked the Formula One world and led to severe consequences for Renault. Team principal Flavio Briatore was banned from all Formula One events, and Pat Symonds, the team's chief engineer, received a 5-year ban. Throughout all of this, Alonso's name was implicated, and many questioned his knowledge of the situation. However, no concrete evidence was found to prove that Alonso was involved, and he was not penalized in any way. Despite the controversy, Ferrari announced Alonso as their second driver for the 2010 season, partnering with Felipe Massa. The failed Ferrari partnership. The world watched eagerly as he made his move to Ferrari, a team with a rich history and high expectations. Many wondered how he would fare in the iconic red car. The Spaniard had high hopes of emulating the success of his idol Michael Schumacher and bringing home the championship for the Italian team once again. And his debut race for the team at Bahrain couldn't have gone any better as he took the checkered flag in style. The season was a roller coaster ride with multiple drivers exchanging the P1 position on the driver's standing. But Alonso's consistency and ability to win races when others faltered put him in pole position for the championship heading into the final race. It was a 4-way fight for the title, with Mark Webber, Sebastian Vettel, and Lewis Hamilton all in the mix. The stage was set for a nail-biting showdown as the lights went out for the final race, but Ferrari's strategy backfired as they pitted Alonso early to cover Webber, only for the Spaniard to get stuck behind Vitaly Petrov's Renault for most of the race. Meanwhile, Vettel raced to victory and won his first championship. Despite Alonso's heroics on the track, Ferrari just couldn't seem to put together a winning formula season after season as Red Bull's dominance continued. Alonso's most impressive season came in 2012, where he drove a midfield Ferrari to an improbable title challenge. But with no improvement in sight, Alonso and Ferrari decided to part ways in 2014. As the Spaniard joined the ambitious McLaren-Honda project, it was a new beginning for Alonso, who hoped to recapture the glory days of his youth and once again fight for the championship. The McLaren-Honda partnership and retirement. Fernando Alonso's return to McLaren was supposed to be a fairy tale story that the world would remember for years. But instead, it turned into another nightmare. The reunion of the Spaniard with the British team was part of a larger vision to revive the glory days of the 1990s. However, as it turned out, the magic of the past was not enough to carry the team to victory. The team's partnership with Honda proved to be a complete disaster. The Japanese engine supplier's power unit was significantly behind the other engine suppliers on the grid. The result was a disastrous 2015 season that saw the team finish second to the last in the Constructors' Championship with just 27 points to their name. Things didn't go much better in 2016. The team failed to score a single podium finish, with a dismal best finish of 5th place by Alonso in Monaco. The relationship between Honda and McLaren had completely broken down by this point, with Alonso and Button often venting their frustration to the media. At the end of the 2018 season, Alonso made the decision to retire from Formula One. In 2020, after a 2-year break from Formula One, Fernando Alonso made a comeback with his former team Renault, now known as Alpine, but Fernando was just idle during his time away from the sport. During his hiatus, Alonso won the 2018-2019 FIA World Endurance Championship and the 24 Hours of Le Mans twice, all with the Toyota sports car team. The return to F1. It was a rocky start for the two-time world champion as he suffered a cycling accident in February, which affected his preparations for the season. Despite this setback, Alonso qualified 9th in the opening race but had to retire due to brake issues. But Alonso is a fighter, and he bounced back in the next races, scoring points consistently. And in the inaugural Qatar Grand Prix, he started and finished 3rd, proving he still had the skills to compete at the top level. His 81-point haul and a 10th place finish in the championship standings showed that he was still a force to be reckoned with. In 2022, Alonso continued with Alpine, and the team showed significant improvements. Although there were no podium finishes, Alonso managed to score points in 10 consecutive races, a feat only matched by the top 3 in the championship standings. He finished 9th in the championship, and Alpine rose to 4th in the constructors' standings. However, Alonso had his eyes set on bigger goals and didn't think Alpine was the right team to achieve them. When a vacancy opened up at Aston Martin, he immediately signed for the British team. A 3rd F1 title? After over 361 Grand Prix, Fernando Alonso's record of success stood at 32 wins, 22 poles, and 101 podiums. It could have been much more had he made better career choices. Since Spain 2013, Alonso has not triumphed in a Formula One race. It would be brilliant for the sport to see him reach the top once more. Alonso still has a lot of life left in him and has a good chance to demonstrate that he is still one of the finest racing drivers in the world in 2023. It is conceivable to win championships late in your racing career. For example, Nigel Mansell was 39 years old when he won the Formula One World Championship in 1992, and Alain Prost was 38 years old when he won the title the following year. So, Alonso can still pull a surprise. There you have it, the story of Fernando Alonso. What's your thought about the legendary Fernando Alonso? Let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, I appreciate you.